talk about it. Okay, today we're going to talk about advanced visualization with Bokeh library, and we're going to talk about layout. Layout is the way we can display graphical objects in a screen, and Bokeh gives you a lot of opportunity to do that. You can use a couple of functions. For example, row function will let you display graphs in a row. Column function will let you display graphs in a column, and grid plot, which we're going to use today, lets you customize your layout in the way you desire. So today we're going to build this dashboard. Want me to put like that? It has a couple of tabs, so we're going to build a time series, stack graph. This tab displays box plots, and this is a scatter plot with the different markers. I'm going to give you guys in the chat my public repository. And we'll tell you how to download it, everything. And so please go to this repository, link repository, which I gave you. It's publicly available on GitHub. Then, if you want to follow up with me, you need to download this notebook and open it in Jupyter Notebook. Please do not open in the Collab because it will not work. We're going to display everything in a web browser, and Collab doesn't like it. So you went over there in this link, which I sent you in a chat. Then you press raw, and this will be kind of gives you like a JSON file. So what you're doing, you right click on this screen and save as. So when you're saving as, you are navigating where you want to do it, particularly like for downloads over here. But when you're saving it, please remove TXT and just have only IPYNB extension, and then press save. I'm not going to do it because I already have it. So please do that. When you will do it, I will continue so everyone will be on the same page. If you want me to repeat it, please unmute yourself and tell me. Did you guys do it? Yuki, did you do it?
Yeah, I did it.
Okay, so now open this Jupyter Notebook in either in whatever environment you're using, in the Conda or something. And I'm hoping that you already installed Bokeh over there. If not, I can tell you how to install it. If you're using Conda, use Conda install Bokeh. If you're using pip install Bokeh. So let me know if when you open the notebook, and so I can keep talking. Did everyone open?
Good. Yeah, you can go on.
Okay. So first line, we're going to import pandas, NumPy, and we're going to read our table, our data set. It's a publicly available data set of the time frame 3 years over the different death causes in USA. I put it in my GitHub, so it will be easily for us to read it. And we're gonna read it from the URL. Over here, just run these lines. This is how the table looks like. It has jurisdiction of occurrence, this particular state, it has quite a bit of more than just a state. It has a total United States, it has a Columbia District, and also Puerto Rico. It has a years, and there are 3 years from 2020 to 2022, including all of that, what the week and when the data had been pulled out, the end of the week. And over here on the columns, there are different causes which I pull out over here so you can see it clearly. So there has a column of the all causes, natural causes, some acute disease, chronic disease like diabetes mellitus, COVID. I'm just telling you guys over here that this in the curly brackets on each column, it's ICD codes. Those codes are used in medicine to document disease, different disease, and it's a huge classification. So I decided that we're not going to analyze all of those. It's too much. We're going to analyze chronic disease, and I pull out some of them which I've been interested with. It's diabetes, Alzheimer's, some chronic respiratory disease, some kidney disease. It's this line, disease of heart, and cerebrovascular. Because I don't want to have in my labels, in the future we're going to use it, these ICD codes to save kind of space in my graphs. I'm going to split on this particular line of code says, please for each of those items in this list, split it on this character on a space and curly bracket and take only first item. I split first item in for each of those items in this list. Next, we're going to do a little bit of cleaning of our table, which we downloaded from URL. We're going to convert week ending date to the date time. It's this line of code. And then I don't want to have any, I want to have in my table only states, USA states. So I'm going to exclude total United States, District of Columbia, just New York City, and Puerto Rico. So this part of line, this part of the code without Tyndall says, pull out for me all of those rows. And when you add in Tyndall over there, it says exclude those rows from my table. So after we clean everything, the next we're going to build a time series. For this, I want to group by the week. If you remember there, we have this column week ending date. I want to group by this column and sum up all of the chronic disease by the state. So this particular group by this column and sum up all of the chronic disease with this line of codes. As index, I put false because if this is a default parameter, it's usually defaulted as a true, so it will be indexed. I don't want to have it, so I want it to be as a column. Our table will look like this. So each row over here will represent the sum of all of those deaths in particularly in this week and this throughout all USA. Now we're going to build our time series after all of those wrangling and cleaning. We're going to import a couple of the Bokeh modules. As you know that you need to explicitly import everything from Bokeh. So we're going to import factor CMap. If you remember, we utilize it to color our. We're not going to use it particularly in this time series. We're going to use it down below, but it's for the color. We're going to utilize a couple of the palettes, category 2020, category 10th, and pastel 1.3. We're going to utilize column and grid plot, which I already noticed. Column data source, legend, some tours. This particular last one, whiskers panel, will be for the box plot, panel and tabs for sampling dashboard. And we're going to, from the plotting module, we're going to import feature, show, and output file. Now, building the time series. If you remember, column data source is the function which we using to convert our table into the dictionary in the backend of the Bokeh. So our chronic table which we created over here, we put it into this function, and we're going to use this as a source. So now after this, we're going to build our canvas, and canvas we're building by the function feature, where since it's a time series, we need to tell that the x-axis will be at daytime. We're putting the width and height the way how we wanted it, how we desire it to be. We'll label, and we're putting title. Since I don't want my legend to be on top of my graph, I'm adding the layout. Here I'm putting add layout, and I'm putting my legend into the right of my graph. So please, this part of the code, it says add the layout to this graph and put it on the right. Now, since it's a time series, and time series usually represent as a line, we're going to add glyphs, line glyphs. And as you remember, this chronic DS, which we built over here, is the same as our columns over here. So I'm going to loop through this list, and I'm going to add for each, so this part of line say add line, where x-axis will be week ending date, where the y-axis is my columns over here. So this, so this, so this. From the source over here, use appropriate color, add the legend, and make my line width 2. If we will run this code, it will not represent you in this notebook. It will represent you, it will put your graph in a website, in a web browser, and it will look like this. If you remember last time when we put output notebook function on top of our visualization, it will be in our notebook, but we're not going to do it because we want to build it in a web browser. Do you guys have question over here? Can I move to the next graph?
I'm getting some errors. I did pip install Bokeh, but it still didn't like updated everything.
Oh, you have to wait until it's completely installed.
Yeah, it is completely installed. That's what it showed me, but I'm still running and saying that dot model is not there in the package.
Bokeh models.
Yeah.
What version of Bokeh are you using?
It's 3.03. 0.03.
Let's do it after lecture, and we'll go through your.
Okay.
You're gonna share your screen, and because it's hard to troubleshoot right like that. Is it okay?
Yep, it's okay.
Next, we're going to use a stack bar. We're going to build stack bar. So I decided to build I decided to see how many deaths per all of this chronic disease within the year. So we're going to go by the year. We're going to take the same chronic disease and we're going to sum it up. And over here, I imported also map pi to change my representation of my x-axis. I'm building this, just created this years because I'm going to use it. This list particular, there are 3 years only. And as you remember, I can use for the source of my data points, just a dictionary, my own created dictionary. So for this particular graph, I decided to build my own. So here's the years key, values is all my years. And now I'm going to loop through my chronic DS. And I'm gonna, for particularly over here, I'm saying that each of this column, because chronic DS is representation of my columns, take column as a key and take the values as the values. values, all these rows as a values for my dictionary. So that's how we build our source. Now we're building our canvas. We're using feature. I'm taking this, my ears, as a range. So it will be a bar graph with a label 2020, 21, 22. Then I'm using my height and width the way I desire. Titles. Again, we're adding the legend over here on the right. And I'm using the glyph V bar stack. For this, x-axis will be my ears, this, and for y-axis, since it's stacked, it's my list of my chronic disease. It's stacking on top, on top, on top. With colors, because there are 6 colors over there. I import 6 columns, sorry. I imported only category 6, from category 10, only 6 of these colors which I need. If you will have here 5 or 8, it will air it up. Source data, it's our dictionary which we created with this and this 2 lines, 3 lines. And label, it's my chronic disease clean. It's what we split it over here, if you remember, to save the space. Here I do some cleaning. I don't want to, I want my Y range start from the 0. I want to have some padding on my X range. I don't want to have any grid line colors or minor text lines or outlines. But I want my X-axis labels be a little bit turned. And if you will just run this, it will looks like this. So see the label of the ears a little bit turned. That's all for that one.
So the source of the figure needs to be a dictionary.
Column data source, if you use it, it's in the
Yeah.
back end, will make your table as a dictionary. So technically you can use dictionary itself and build the way you want it. It's just the easy way, and I will call it lazy way, to just dump everything in a column data source. So it will build for you.
I see. So this data you are building by yourself, it
Yes.
has, so one of the keys is years, right? And all the other keys are the disease names.
Yes, it will be like, let me print this data. So you will see, it will take this disease column and will take these 3 values, which will correspond this to this year will be this year will be this, and this year will be this, and we'll stack it up. So for this year, it will take this, and first values for each. For this year, 2021, it will take second value.
I see.
And stack it up. So that's why it's very important to make sure that those arrays over there are all the same length. It will air it up if they will be not the same length, because it will stack it up.
Right. I see. Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Any more questions? Okay. Next one, we're gonna build septicemia by ears, the distribution, and we're going to use box plot. Unfortunately for the Bokeh, it doesn't have magic function where you can just dump everything called box plot and it will create for you. You need to do a little bit of calculation, but Panda is very unique. It will let you do that. So for this particular, I wanted to use only 2 columns in our big table. So I'm going to do a subset of the table, and it will be ear and septicemia. And my little table will look like this. After that, I'm going to group by the ear. and I'm gonna take this column septicemia and I'm gonna calculate quantiles 0.25, 0.5, and 0.75. After that, I'm gonna unstack it because it will be like long, I believe, and reset index. I'm gonna rename some columns, and my final table will look like this, where year will be on one column and quantiles will be other columns. Now I want to merge this table and this table together, and you will understand later why we want to do that. So we're gonna merge on the year because this is the common column over there, and we're gonna merge it left. After that, I want to change years, not as an integer or whatever we have it over there floats. I want to be as a string. It will need it to build the graph. It needs to be a categorical type. Now we're gonna do some calculation. After we merged it, we will have, let me show you how it will look. Actually it's over here. After we merge it, it will have the point value, quantile first, second, and third one. And now we need to build upper and lower bonds. So for the upper bond and for lower bond, we will calculate this interquartile range, which shows us a spread of the 50% of the data. We multiply it by 0.5, and we will add it to the third quantile, and everything what above this will be our outliers, upper outliers. Lower outliers, you will calculate this kind of similar. We will just subtract this from the first quantile, but since we're talking about death, this value will be negative. I already calculated, and if you will think logically, death cannot be negative, so I just put a 0 as the lower bond, and our table will look like this. So we will have for this data point this value, this will be our quantiles, this will be our upper and lower bond. Those values is necessary so Bokeh can see where this point is located and where to put this. I built this list dates, but just to be in a close proximity, so we will know what are they. But we already have kind of similar years, but just in case. So now this table with our points and quantiles, we're going to put in a column data source, which in the back end again will do from our table dictionary. We're going to use for X range our dates, which our years. I don't want to use any tools or toolbars, like don't want to locate any toolbars. I put my title and my X-axis label. Now we're going to calculate outliers, and we're going to use our function whiskers. We're going to use for the base, we're going to use years. For the upper bond, we're going to use our upper column. For the lower, and we're going to use it from our source, which is the column data source function. Like I will say function our septicemia table. And if you remember, every whisker should have a head. It's like a line perpendicular, like a T. And I want them to have a size 20. And it calls upper head and lower head. And I want to add this to my layout, to my feature over here. Now we will calculate quantiles. For the quantiles, we're going to use factor CMap. It's a linear coloring tool where we're again going to use this year. For each year, take dates. For for each of those years, use this palette and display it as on, and kind of transfers them to the dates. And we're going to use VBar. And here's the trick. So we're going to build first VBar, taking all of these columns, years again. We're going to take from second quantile to the third quantile, from the second to the third. We're going to use it from our source. We're going to use our color C map to color it, and we're going to outline our box with a black color. Then we're going to build another VBar from the first to second, everything the same. And then we're going to build our outliers. So again, this part of the code tells us, pull out for me everything, all the rows which are between lower and upper bound, but Ditto up front will tell us to remove. So technically this tell me find everything which is not in the within an upper and lower bound. Sorry. And then use those to point to display our outliers as a scatter plot. Scatter is a glyph, just a circle. Again, use this column, use this y. This will be our y. This will be our x. Sorry, this will be x. So this will be our y axis. This will be our source. This one. Size of our circles, color of our circles, and alpha is a transparency. Here is a little bit adding a new function, so you know that we can customize our font sizes. For example, X labels, major labels, I want to be 14, and then text font, I want to be over here 12. It's X labels, it's a major text over here. And I want to start Y range from 0 to 110. Let's see, so over here is a 12. All of those ticks are 14th. You see that it's built this outline from quantile 1 to quantile 2, a line because it's outlined. And this will be technically as our quantile 0.5, second quantile, from second quantile to the third quantile. Here's our whiskers. This is this one is the tick, and our head over here is overlaps with the x-axis. And over here we see our outliers. Questions?
What is the whisker?
Whiskers?
Yeah.
Let me show you. Whiskers is this line with this thing.
Oh, okay.
Technically, this is the interquantile range, where the 50% of the data is distributed.
Right.
This is the whiskers, kind of like above that range, whereas it goes.
It's like a confidence interval.
Yes, and like if you, it's a Gaussian distribution. If you will think of this, yes, it's just a turn it. I don't know, turn it a little bit, and this will be our outliers, which
I see.
through.
I see. Did someone else also have a question?
This is a very hard one because you have to calculate yourself everything. So play with that.
Right.
Think about it. Maybe it will come to you. Like, just when you will play with that, it will come faster. But yeah,
right. And how do you know like which function to call? Like if I want to build that whisker thing, but if I don't know it's called whisker, how do I find that out?
You can Google box plot with Bokeh, and it will gives you. some kind of like navigates you through. You can also use the gallery and like if you will go to the Bokeh documentation, they have a gallery. Let me documentation. Let me show you since it's come out. They have gallery over here, and here's a different type of.
Oh, that's nice.
So you can go over here, and they will give you examples how to build and what to build. You can play yourself.
Cool.
Like this very cool one. So you can see it's a keyword grid plot. That's what we're going to use today, and how they use in grid plots the columns with next one is respiratory disease. So we going again to do a subset of our big data where we'll take only years. We're going to take jurisdictions of occurrence. We're going to take ending dates, weeks, and some respiratory disease other and chronic lower. We're going to change our year again to the string type so we can build our graph. And then we're going to, over here I created again our years, which we already created 1,000 times, just to have it in a close proximity. And then I created over here a markers list where we're going to use a different markers for our scatter plot. This way I can show you how you can customize a little bit and play and make it, I will say, pretty girly. I created this plot list. It's empty for now, but we're going to append into this list 3 different graphs. So since I created our years and I know there are only 3 years, I'm going to loop through that years list, and I'm going to take in my respiratory this created table. I'm gonna take I'm gonna create another subset corresponding to the year, which I'm choosing in the 2000, 2001, 2002. I'm gonna put this little subset of my to the column data source. I'm gonna create a canvas. As you can see, I put over here in the title the year by using format function, and then I'm labeling my X and Y axis, and I'm using a scatter glyph where for the X axis I'm putting the disease, other disease. For the Y axis I'm putting the chronic lower respiratory disease. I'm pointing in my source, and then I'm using this legend grouped as the year. And markers we're taking from this list. From the pastel 3, I know that there are 3 years. I'm asking for the right color over here by putting this indexing. I want to have all my glyphs being outlined with a black color, and I want them to size to be 7. And this plot, which we created over here, it's called scatter plot. I want to append into this plot. And in order to display it, I'm using a column function where I'm putting all of these plots. And if you will run that, you will see that it displays as a column. You can play with that and put row or whatever you want. So this is 2020. So yeah, 2021, 2022. 3 different with the 3 different markers. Questions? It's a pretty easy one.
I'm not sure if you talked about this, but why is there a star in front of the plots?
So for the column, this is the only way to put it as a list. So it's kind of like telling that there are more than one.
I see.
Displayed.
Okay.
So now the assembling dash. in order to do it in Jupyter Notebook, it's not that easy. You have to do it in one cell. If you are having a huge dash, it should be a one cell. And that's why I built them like this in order to explain everything and visualize that they're working properly. But at the end, I copy paste all of our time series, stack graph, box plot, and our scatter plot all in one cell. And this is the part where you're starting to assemble this. So here we're using a grid plot function, and so let me explain over here this way. So we have 3 tabs. First, we need to assemble each of those tabs and then assemble all of those tabs. So first, we're going to assemble the chronic disease tabs. I'm using grid plot. Grid plot is a list of the list. So here's one list, one row, here's another row. You can assemble the way you want. I just want it to be as kind of 2 columns, and the second graph over here is none. But if you want, you can just remove it and leave it like this, and it still will work. Put it back. So this says that there will be 2 rows, 2 columns in each row. But if you want to have a third graph over here, you can easily squeeze. So if you want to put both of this graph in one row and 2 columns, you just take your stack disease and put it like this. Let's remove that, for example, and see how it will build it. It will not be pretty because you will have to kind of list through the tab. Then by assembling the septicemia tab, also I wanted to have one row, 2 columns, or you can just remove that and it will be 1 column. For the respiratory disease, we have only one, we have 3 plots in the list. And if you remember, the plots is that where we append everything. If we're putting just the whole entire list over here, it will be displayed as a row because it will be represented as a row over here. Like it will be 3 graphs and it will be kind of like 3 plots in one line. After we assemble each of those tabs by the grid plot, we need to put it in a panel function where we're giving a title to each of the tabs. We're having chronic disease, septicemia, it's those names. And after that, we're putting those tabs into one big function, tabs, where we're defining them as a list, the way how we want to represent it. By changing the, like if you want to have second tab first, you can just change the location of them and it will display differently. Like this will be displayed to me and then chronic disease, then respiratory disease. And you display it with the show function. The cool thing about the Bokeh with these static dashboards, you can output them as HTML file, but pay attention that it should be before the show function, because for some reason, if you put output file after, it will not do it. It just needs to be before. If you do this, it will save it into your working directory and it will work. So this HTML file, you can, I don't know, send it to someone if you created some report or do something with that. That's all. Questions?
How does it know which tabs to output to the HTML? Because it doesn't even take the like output file doesn't even take the tabs as an argument, right?
Oh, look, over here, tabs 1, we're calling panel, and we're calling child the chronic tab over here, what we assemble with the grid plot, and we're naming as a chronic disease. And then over here, we're referring to that tab 1, tab 2, and that's how it knows what to refer to. And same with the tab 2 is a septicemia, because I put over here child septicemia tab. If I will put over here child chronic tab, it will display chronic tab.
Yeah, I see that. I mean, for output file, the function output file,
Oh,
does it?
why doesn't we don't refer to everything?
Right.
But that's a good question, and I don't know answer for that because it's a bokeh. I guess it's
Does
not.
it need to have the show function follow it?
So if, for example, let me do this for you. Let me remove that. Where's the delete here? And let's put this under. It will show you that it will represent, everything will be here. If you will go to your stuff, it will,
Oh, it still works.
wait. It still works, yeah.
Okay, that's magic then.
I don't know how I did it. All right, because before I did it and I couldn't. That's why I thought that it should be before that.
I see. Yeah, this Bokeh library seems really useful. Like they give you can do a lot of customization with whatever you want.
Yes, and the thing is, I think this one is the coolest part when you can just export it as a static HTML, because and it still will be interactive. If you put there some hovering tools or some other tools, zooming and some widgets, it still will work. Like if you will use Dash, there are like Plotly and Dask, there will be no, if you downloaded it, it will give you only opportunity to do as a PNG, and there will be no interactivity within.
Oh, okay.
Unless you like created an actual web app or something and it deployed it, then only you can do it. But with Bokeh, I think it's amazing that they did it. I think it's because in the backend it's a JavaScript, and it can just transfer everything easily and do everything for you easily.
Cool. Does anyone else have questions?
We need to fix one error for someone.
Sherry asked, which one has interactivity? That's the HTML, right? HTML has the interactivity.
Yes, if you will have in your graphs, we didn't have any interactivity in this. We had it in the first lecture. If you will have in your dashboard interaction something, it will be all like outputted within HTML. You will still have it.
Right, like when you hover around something and it shows some
data
text
points.
Data point, yeah. And then what's a good reference or documentation for Bokeh? I think the link you just showed, right? The gallery part.
Yeah, I can
this link.
Send this into the chat. This will be the good recommendation. There are lots of, I believe, some tutorials which can give you in depth. There are a lot, it's just very hard to pull out. Like you want to have it easy and something which you can use every day. But if you can go deeper, there are probably more.
Right. Is there any more questions? Okay, then if there's no more, you can always ask later. If there's no more questions, thank you, Zulfiia, very much for teaching us for 2 sessions.
You're welcome. I don't
Yeah.
remember who had the error.
I had error.
Okay, let me stop
put-
recording first.